Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Corn Corner podcast. Today, you're going to notice something a little bit different. To my right is not Cam Damage, the general host of the Corn Corner Hit podcast. Today, we have Nicole. And we've made the biggest exception on this podcast where we have drinks. And not only do we have drinks, we have small biscuits to dip the tea in. This is something that I've never been able to do with Cam. He's never been able to handle this kind of thing on the podcast. So you're going to see a lot of dipping. You're going to see a lot of different biscuit utilizing situations. And this is something that we haven't been able to explore in this podcast before. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. So, Nicole Scarlato, model, amazing human being, creative, one of my favorite muses, beautiful, one of my best friends. Welcome onto the Corn Corner.
Thank you for having me. It's
You're
an
so
honor.
welcome.
It's an honor.
One of the craziest things about you is you're a Paralympic sprinter. Was
Yes.
a Paralympic sprinter. Wild.
Yeah.
Insane to think about.
To me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Like when you think back on that, you're like, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, it was like 16, 15 years ago.
How old were you when?
It's like 19, 20, 21 when I competed.
How do you even like handle that kind of pressure as a kid?
Well, I grew up playing sports. So like the competitive part was always there. I was very competitive. And, you know, playing sports my whole life, I played with people who weren't disabled. I played baseball and basketball. This is before transition. And I always had to work extra hard to keep up. And it was always really frustrating, but I was still really good. And when I finally got to the point where I could do like Paralympic type of, athletics, I was like, wait a minute, it's a level playing field. Hell yes, let's go.
The question has to be asked. Do you think that since you are disabled, you had to work so much harder, so it made you better?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And just kind of build a mental toughness in me too that developed that I think has lasted with me.
I would
my
agree.
Entire life. Yeah.
You're one of the toughest humans.
Thanks. Sucks that I've had to be, but I'm proud of it.
It does, but I think it has developed you into the person that you are now. So then you started competing with other disabled athletes.
Yeah.
And you said that you're like, hell yeah, like equal playing ground.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about what that feels like? Because from my perspective, like I can't even like put myself in that situation.
Yeah. So for a little more context, I was born with a birth condition that basically left me without some of the parts on my leg, but it looked normal at birth. It just wasn't going to grow the same rate. So they made some amputations. And then when I played sports my whole life, but I had my own knee that was not fully developed, but I was able to play sports with it.
Okay.
When I got to 18, I started to have pain in that knee and decided to have the knee taken out because I figured if I was young, it'd be easier to heal and adapt and won't be as much of a life, change at 18 versus who knows when, right? Because at some point it was going to get worse. The knee was going to break down. So I chose to go in and have it essentially re-amputated. So I had to relearn everything again. And at first I regretted it because at first I couldn't walk and I was depressed and I had to relearn everything, how to walk. And I wasn't sure if I'd be able to run again because running, without your knee, with a prosthetic knee is a lot different than running with your actual knee. You have to, when you have an actual knee, you don't think about it. It just works, whereas without it, I got to learn how to operate this whole new piece of machine that's attached to me essentially.
I have so many questions I want to ask about this. How long were you regretting it?
It wasn't long. It was maybe the first 6 months or so.
Okay.
6 to 8 months. Actually, what pulled me out of that mindset was, the person who makes my leg, they call them prosthetists. And there's orthotists. So typically someone goes to school and they're a CPO, so certified prosthetist and orthotics.
Okay.
And I have seen the same person even to this day since I was 12 years old. And he is probably the best human that exists in this.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's just amazing. And he's kind of been family for a long time. And his
Wow.
family's amazing. And yeah. He I had wanted to bring in he had a couple of friends that were amputees that were, a little older, probably closer to his age, I'd guess, maybe a little bit younger, who were former Paralympic champions.
Okay.
Yeah. And as sprinters, 100 meter, 200 meter, 400 meter. And their name was Dennis Oler and Todd Schaffhauser. And Todd was an above the knee amputee, like I had become, and Dennis was a below the knee amputee. Because typically, so the Paralympics, they classify you by disability, and for amputees, they typically have two categories, well, actually three categories, but two categories that typically, which is like the T42, which is below the knee amputees, and the T44s, with their above the knee amputees.
Why T4?
No
Okay,
idea
got it.
what that actually means, but someone who is amputated below the knee is probably going to be faster than someone above the knee, typically.
Okay.
Because
okay.
The
mechanics how it works.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yes.
getting to the story. Todd and Dennis, once they retired, started this national, I would say even international at one point, clinic where they went around and they figured out like a way to, it was almost like physical therapy, how to actually teach people to walk better, and if they want to run.
Wow.
Like an actual like system. So they went around and they had met Wade, my prosthetist, at one of these events over the years, and they stayed in contact. And Wade always thought, he's always thinking about giving back to his patients. And I always thought I'd love to have them come in for, a session or whatever, a workshop at some point. So he was finally like, when I was healing, he was like, I'm finally going to do this. He didn't tell me that he had me in mind. He also had other patients in mind, but the timing was like literally perfect.
Yeah.
Where they came in, I was walking, but I wasn't ready to run yet. And he knew this was going to happen. He knows me so well. And they came in and they did their thing. I mean, like the local news was there. I was on the news at one point. I'll have to show you that video sometime, by the way. This is like a long time ago.
I think you showed me it.
Seriously. I think yeah. Shaved
anyway.
head and the whole thing.
Yep.
So I remember seeing them run and people like learning the basics. And I was like, I'm doing that. I am fucking doing that. And I told Todd when they left, I was like, the next time you come out, I will be running.
I love it.
He's like, okay, cool. So I remember all the basic stuff they taught. Actually, I did it every single day I went out. My parents' garage where I was living at the time, and I would do the exercises every single day.
What are the exercises?
It was very basic stuff. I'd have to get up to show you, but it's like using your prosthetic to like heel strike and to build strength, and to actually running as an above knee almost feels like you're just kind of like constantly falling over. And you're just trying to get your leg out under you quick enough to catch yourself.
Because the leg is it has like the curve, right?
So
no?
They do have those, and I ended up competing with that. But Todd was like, you need to learn how to run on your normal leg first, because it builds a stronger foundation. Okay, you'll be stronger, and that way when you go to switch to the other one, it's like turbo boost. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah.
Okay.
So, and I'm glad you did, because now if I had to take off running somewhere, I could, because I can run on this. I know what it feels like.
How many people that are above the knee cannot run?
I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that can't run because they just haven't been taught and they don't have the strength to do it. But if somebody actually worked with them and they wanted it bad enough, probably they could. It just depends on their like specific, was it an accident? Did they have other medical issues?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So they came back 8 months later for another clinic, and like they were like, okay, try the exercises, and I just ran, and they're like, oh my god, and like my knee turnover was really really fast.
Your what?
My knee turnover. How quickly I could actually like get the knee, the knee like knee over limb, I guess, as I ran.
I don't know what that means.
How else can I describe this?
Like the knee actually, it like. You're controlling when it moves,
kind
essentially.
Of. I am
with momentum.
Yes, but I'm also sort of like from like a proprioception kind of mentality, like also leveraging the force I already have.
Yes,
and like high touch, right? Like responding to that stimulus too. It's really intense and insane.
I can imagine.
So they came back, and I mean, I swear I'm getting to there's an end to this. I promise. They come back and they were like, oh my god. And when they left that time, I told Todd, I was like, I want to compete like you did. He's like, okay. So this was like pre-iPhone days, and he's from New York. Obviously, I was in the Bay Area, which is my hometown, and he trained me from around the world where he was traveling, and it was like emails, and I literally had an old camcorder. where I set it up and record myself running. And I'd go out to the track multiple times a week. I started going to the gym. I bulked up because you need to be strong to be a sprinter. And I ended up hitting all the cuts to make the world national championships for the 100 meter and 200 meter. And I competed and I took silver in both.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did it for 3 years in a row. 06, 07, 08. And 08 was the big year because I was trying to make it on the team for Beijing, which would have been like the big Paralympics. I did not, unfortunately, but I got silver all 3 years for the 100 and the 200. It
Wow.
was a cool experience.
I can
It was a
imagine.
really cool experience.
What are what were the next steps to get on the team? If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing they're looking at is, from my understanding at least, is are you going to give our country a chance to win gold in your or at least place with a medal in your respective competition? And at the time, this was, like I said, late 2000s. For the for the above knee category, the T44s, I think it was T40. I might be getting them mixed up. The US wasn't as competitive as some other countries. Below the knees, like we were very competitive. So they actually didn't take anyone for above knee that year.
Got it.
Yeah, but I think if my time would have been, X amount faster, they would have seen, if I would have been someone that was like hitting speeds that would have like placed me in a medal, for the actual worlds, because it was Beijing in 08, I'm sure they would have made space and taken me.
How has the sport progressed now? Have you watched it recently?
Yeah, well, it's tough. They don't really televise it,
Okay.
which is, I think it's bullshit. I think that the way they have set up right now is they have the Olympics that air and then the Paralympics are after. And most people are already tired from the Olympics. But
Yeah.
what I think people don't realize is, like, as someone who sat and watched other people compete at the Paralympics, like, these people are superheroes, what they can do. It's insane. And
Yeah.
like, I'm inspired watching some of them, right? And I think it's a missed opportunity not to start with the Paralympics leading up to the able-bodied Paralympics, like the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a total missed opportunity. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. And I think there's people that are trying to change that, but I don't know if it'll ever happen. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, that was exactly what I asked.
Yeah.
I'm not an athlete. So it's like hearing these things is like absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to be a crazy thing to make a decision when you're 18 to have another amputation,
Yeah.
knowing it's going to set you back really far.
Yeah. I did it my senior year of high school too. Second half of my senior year.
How did you go to class?
For a while I did, it was like the second semester. So at that point I'd had all my credits basically, but it was,
Okay.
what do you call that? Like at home learning for like a month.
And how,
This is pre like Zoom too. It was
Yeah.
like the teachers were basically, my mom was going to pick up materials.
Yeah. and like learning how to walk, like you said that, what's it like? Is it like, do you remember the first time you tried to walk after the surgery?
Yeah, it was really hard.
In what way?
Well, part of it's your muscles have atrophied, and also there's like a new set of muscles you're using too when you're thinking about walking, right?
Yeah.
And it was a super painful surgery. It was
Yeah.
the most painful thing I've ever experienced.
Really?
Yeah, I woke up one night, like maybe a night or two after the surgery, and my morphine drip had stopped.
I remember the story.
I can't even begin to describe the pain.
I remember the story.
I can only, again, cannot begin to describe the pain.
I mean, it's hard to even put myself in that.
Yeah, don't.
Right when you started telling me that story, I got the same feelings I heard like when you told me it that one time.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely made you as tough and resilient as you are now.
Thanks.
Do you miss competing?
I do. Not necessarily in track. It took a toll on my body, just those 3 years.
Yeah, I bet.
But I'm a very competitive person, so I try to find it where I can.
Yeah.
In a healthy way. It's whether it be like my past work in like the corporate world, where it's kind of numbers driven what I do.
Yeah.
I'm competitive with myself on
Yeah.
meeting my goals, and I'd say that applies to other things as well. I there are a lot of like adult kind of leagues and things like that I think would be fun to do,
Yeah.
but again, I'd be going back up against able-bodied folks, and I'm like, I don't want to put in extra work.
Yeah.
you know, to kind of compete against them. It's just
No.
not really be on the level playing field, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're in the top 2 guests on the Corn Corner history.
oh,
Top 2.
How many guests have there been?
You don't have to ask. That's not important. You know what
Okay,
I mean?
all right,
It's not really an important part of it. But I mean, you're definitely up in the top 2. And I'm sure everyone's going to really agree with that. So, another thing that we've recently been talking about a lot is fashion.
Yeah.
You're a very fashionable human being.
Thank you.
You're really good about making outfits and expressing yourself via clothing and accessories and things. Yeah. Did that come naturally? Like, do you remember like growing up and expressing yourself via fashion and stuff? Have you always been like that?
Not really. I remember wanting to be, and not really understanding how to do it, especially like as a boy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I went to elementary and middle school that had uniforms.
I did as well, and I think that really fucked things up.
100% agree.
High school for me had uniforms too.
Did it really?
It did.
Yeah,
So I remember when I went to college and I wore jeans for the first time, I was like, it was wild to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely hated it. And I think it stunted me in terms of like
Sorry.
growth. You know what I mean? In terms of growth, those terms of like my ability to dress myself.
Well, you definitely figured it out now because,
Thank you.
you know, what do you think? When you pick out an outfit to wear, are you thinking about trying to express something in yourself? Are you just wearing things that you think are cool? Like, is there a deeper thing there? Or?
Yeah, I think yes to both, because I think I've got to the point where I have curated a wardrobe and continue to curate a wardrobe that have pieces that I can use to express myself, right? So each one of those pieces has something in it that I think I can use to express myself properly. But in the end, it also is about how I feel wearing it, right? So if I'm going to wear something, I have certain criteria, like I want to feel powerful, I want to feel sexy, you know, one of these different things, right? Sometimes all of them. And I have selected clothes and pieces that I can use to create outfits that will make me feel that way.
So seeing you now, it's easy because you wear cool stuff. But there had to have been a journey from being uncomfortable, not knowing what to do, to knowing what to do.
Yeah.
What was the spark? What was that thing? How'd you start?
Yeah, it was definitely transitioning.
Well, even in the beginning of transitioning, you're still figuring out what to do. And also you're emulating women that you've always wanted to look like and things like that.
But what it did was it changed the rules.
Yes.
So I think it's important to acknowledge like it does start there, because before I would have been deathly afraid to wear something that was seen as feminine in public.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the rules didn't apply. I mean, they should never apply in the first place. But all of a sudden, now that I had transitioned or figured out I was trans, I knew that I could wear anything, essentially, whatever made me feel good. But yeah, there was definitely an adjustment period where I just very awkward for a while.
I think we all do.
Yeah. I think I started with like a lot of androgynous black, you know what I mean? And then when I finally started expressing myself, I was wearing things that I'd seen on other women.
Yeah.
That didn't fit my body the right way, or was like a terrible pattern, didn't look good on me, or it just wasn't that great.
I think that's really important to do though in the beginning.
I completely agree.
Because you got to get that out.
I agree.
Do you remember a specific outfit you wore early on that maybe you look back and you're like, damn, that was really bad on me. But when you were wearing it, you were like, I can't believe I'm expressing myself in this way. I'm so happy I can.
Yeah.
What was it?
I remember this, one of the first dresses I owned. I was just happy to finally wear a dress.
Yeah.
It was almost like, it felt like it was forbidden, you know, leaving the house in this dress.
Yeah.
And it was way too small on me.
Yes.
It was just like some a teenager would wear, but I was 30 years old, which is nothing wrong with that actually.
No.
But like, I didn't have even in my mind that people would think about that. You know what I mean? I was just like excited to wear something, you know? And looking back, I would never wear that because it doesn't fit my body shape.
Yeah.
It was a size too small at least. The fabric, I don't remember it being that great, like the style of it. And the cut just wasn't flattering.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Like,
But you needed to do it.
I needed to do it. I think it's important.
Yeah.
I think in general, developing your sense of style, I think it's really important to just take risks. And there's going to be times where you wear something where you might feel good leaving the house. You might come back and be like, what was I wearing? Or you might look at old photos and be like, what the hell was I thinking?
That's also like the feminine experience in a lot of ways.
For sure.
Do you have any pieces of your wardrobe right now that you're kind of pushing, you feel uncomfortable in, but you know is cool, but you're like, I really want to push myself to feel comfortable in this item?
That's a really good question. Actually, I would say that over the past 6 to 12 months, more 6 months, I've been wearing more masculine things. And it feels good. It's definitely sort of mixed in with things that are still feminine. So they kind of create something that is still pretty feminine. But I've put on some outfits where I like put everything on and I'm like, oh my, this is actually too masculine for me, I think. Like it just doesn't really make me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
But I think part of that's just the being trans. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a lot of button ups and kind of stereotypically masculine items, and they look great on you. And it's really cool. And then it is funny because there was a point in time where I was like, yeah, I will never wear this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But now, one of my biggest regrets is not having a lot of old clothes,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I also think getting into modeling and fashion helped too.
Totally.
You know, just kind of being forced to wear things that were different and then having stylists actually style you and getting to pick their brain like totally shifted my perspective on how
Yeah.
to see fashion on someone or see clothing on someone.
Do you find you go in waves with things? Maybe like really dressing up and expressing yourself and then really not?
In general, I do go on waves. I'm the kind of person that does that. But I think actually with fashion, I've gotten to the point where I don't need an excuse to dress up. I just dress up all the time. Well, what I feel is dressed up, you know, whether it be a fancy dress or whether it be a cute top. It's less about the wave and more about like, I just always want to feel good.
Well, we're going to go to dinner tonight.
We are.
What are you going to wear?
Ooh. It's a toss up. Either my little black dress,
The LBD.
LBD, or the red dress with the ruche sides.
Oh, yeah, that thing's nice.
Thing's really nice.
Yeah.
Or the long black dress, which has the really high slit.
That was good.
Why don't you get one of those three? They're classy, simple, elegant.
I love it. Just like you.
Thank you.
I think that we should talk about how we met because I do think it's funny.
Okay.
We met on Reddit.
We did meet on Reddit.
Yes. Which is pretty wild.
Yeah. And this is Reddit like 5 years ago, Reddit.
This is 5 years ago,
It's a
Reddit.
little different.
5 years ago, trans Reddit.
Yes. Trans Reddit.
Yes. Do you still use Reddit now?
I do, but in a different way.
How do you use it now?
You know, oddly enough, that's where I get my news.
That is weird.
I know.
What do you get news about? What do you like about the news?
I don't know.
What do you need? What do you like? What topics?
I don't know. World news, U.S. news, stuff
Yeah.
going on in the trans world, like everything.
Is there like r/news?
No. So when you open the app, you can
Okay.
swipe to the left twice. Yeah, left twice.
Okay.
And it's just a news feed. It's a news feed. It's like all
Wow.
these different subs that have different news. It's like world news, politics, entertainment, whatever. But 5 years ago, I was engaged with trans Reddit.
Trans Reddit only.
Yeah.
Queer Reddit only.
Basically, yeah. And meditation.
Meditation Reddit. What is about what goes on in meditation Reddit?
mean, it was more just like the discussion about meditating and mindfulness because that was like a big part of me kind of finding myself.
Me, F25, loves meditation. Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you meditate now?
I do. I'm actually trying to get back into a practice, a regular practice, consistent practice. I feel like when I started transitioning, I sort of like stopped meditating
Okay.
only because I think I was so excited about sort of like whatever was next in my transition that kept me moving. I almost like, are you okay?
I bit my lip, Bob.
Oh no.
This is why I don't allow us to eat.
Oh, this is what happens.
So you meditated before you transitioned.
Yeah, meditation along with therapy was sort of me coming into myself as a human, I would say.
You're like the only trans person that's meditated pre-transition. I wouldn't want to do it. I don't know. I don't know what I'd be thinking about.
You know what? Life had gotten, well, take that back. Not so much life, but like my mental state had gotten so bad that I was like, I'll do whatever.
I'll try anything.
I'll try anything. Yeah. So I just like threw everything I could at it. I was like doing sensory deprivation. I was meditating. I was like reading about like mindfulness, and I was going to therapy for the first time.
I did a sensory deprivation tank once, and it scared the fuck out of me.
Wait, really? Why?
I had to like find the sides constantly. I did not like it.
Interesting. Are you claustrophobic?
No, not at all.
Huh. Okay.
It was the dark
Yeah.
and just like not knowing how big the room, it freaked me out.
Got it. Okay. Now it's like I learned something new about you.
Yeah.
That's very telling. Huh.
And yeah. Maybe that means I should do more of it.
Maybe.
Have you been into a sensory deprivation tank since?
I haven't been in one in probably 6 years. Not since I transitioned, actually. But I was doing them like weekly for a while.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like part of my meditation practice.
Wow.
Yeah. It's cool.
Miss Moneybags over here.
I mean,
how were you meditating then? Like, what were you doing?
yeah, it was very much like breath work, breath meditation, like vipassana, mindfulness, concentration type of. So you basically like you're present, and I would start with, obviously I set a timer. I'd start with kind of being aware of what was around me, the noises outside. Then I kind of go to what was feeling in my body and work myself all the way to my breath and on my nose.
Wow.
Yeah. And then for a while, you're just kind of focusing on your breath. Sometimes you count to help you stay focused. And then when the time's up, you work yourself back out to be present again. It's kind of like going to the gym. You're just working that muscle. It's like reps, basically.
Yeah, like how you say practice.
Yeah.
It's wild to me that you did that because like I don't think I would have done it pre-transition. I feel like it would have been too much for me. Like there's nothing in there that I need. Like it would just been too much.
Yeah.
Where did you find out about meditation? Like do somebody in your family do it, or a friend or something?
Definitely not family. Actually, so I had a friend when I was kind of going through my rough patch where I had anxiety. I didn't know it was anxiety. I started therapy, and then I had a friend who was like, hey, I've never done it myself, but I've just seen all over the internet, like people talk about how meditation has kind of changed their life. You should look into it, and you should look into sensory deprivation. So I was like, oh, look into both. And they both seem really intriguing to me. And I was like, I'm just gonna go for it.
What is like the first, like baby's first meditation?
I started with Headspace because there was like a whole guided aspect to it. I don't remember the name of the person who started it, but back then he was also like the person that did the whole guided part of it, right? He had this really smooth, like British accent that was very calming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really hot. And then that was really nice at first. Like I caught on pretty quickly, and I just started doing it without a guide and just on my own.
Do you journal?
I do. It's kind of, it's in waves.
Yeah, I think everyone that journals does it in waves.
Yeah,
Honestly, like I think that I don't think there's anyone out there that journals every single day. I don't think we need a journal every day.
Okay.
I think that like it goes in waves, and when we need to say something, we'll write it down.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. You're a model, and you've been in huge campaigns. How'd you get into modeling? Like, what appealed to you?
Yeah. Great question. So let's see.
Thank you so much.
It's definitely tied to my transition. I was maybe like not quite a year on hormones. And I had this itch to what it was is I had a partner at the time, the same partner that I had when I first met you, actually. And we were in bed and just like messing around with the camera and taking photos. And I saw like an angle of my face, and I was like, oh my God, I look so feminine and soft. And it was very like kind of validating, and it gave me a lot of, euphoria. And I told myself when I felt comfortable enough with what I saw in the mirror, I want to do a photo shoot. for fun, not trying to be like a paid model or anything like that.
Yeah.
Flash forward maybe 8 months, less than that even, and I got to the point where I felt like I wanted to do it. And I had a friend who I'm not very close with, but we got closer after I transitioned. She had moved to Texas, and I asked her because I knew she did photography. I was like, "Hey, do you know anyone in the Bay that like you trust that's maybe like queer?" And they connected me with Alex
Yeah.
Kacha. How do you say Kacha?
I think it's Kasha.
Kasha, yeah. So Alex and I started messaging, totally hit it off, and I went down and did a shoot with Alex. And I remember, like, as the shoot was happening, just feeling powerful. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I would really like having my photo taken the way
Yeah.
it was. And Alex is really great about, like, making me feel good and saying the right things.
Amazing.
They're so good at that.
Yes.
I always tell people, if you want to try to get into it and you just feel a little uncomfortable, start with Alex.
Sorry, Alex.
They'll make you feel so comfortable.
Yes. Yes.
And I left it feeling great. And then I saw the photos and I felt even better.
Yes.
And next thing you know, I was like in an actual campaign after that.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. That's a whole other story I can get into, but
It is pretty. You made a good point there in saying everyone should be photoed or photographed even.
Yeah.
And Alex is a phenomenal person to do it with. They made me feel the same way because my first shoot was with them.
yeah.
And the ways that they talk to me stay with me now. Like little things they said
Yeah.
that were like really impactful to me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, I guess I am attractive or whatever, that was huge.
Yeah. I completely agree. In fact, I'm starting to dabble in photography myself. I'm nowhere near being the place I want to be, but I've told myself like I want to be that kind of photographer for other
Yeah.
people someday.
Do you think you'll ever be in the place you want to be?
Probably not,
Yeah,
which is a good thing.
it is a good thing.
Yeah.
I feel like once you get there, then it's done. Like
Yeah.
you don't grow anymore.
Yeah. We don't want to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait, so you want to do like boudoir style shoots where you bring in people and do that kind of thing?
Not the boudoir style. Just like more portrait work, I guess.
You were telling me about that last night where you were talking about it in kind of a photojournalistic way.
Yeah. So I love people. I think everyone has a story, whether they realize it or not. Like you might think your life's really boring, but I actually think there's probably something really interesting about your story. I just love storytelling in general. And I love people. And I think that'd be really cool to interview someone, get to know someone, and get really maybe intimate with how they see themselves and shoot them
Yeah.
with the camera. And
It's strange vernacular.
it really is. And I think like understanding like what they like about their body or how they see themselves or what they've been through, I think as an artist or as a photographer, like you can then sort of use that as like a filter, so to speak. So you can make photos that maybe make them feel more comfortable and feel better about certain things.
You being a model is going to make you a phenomenal photographer,
Thanks.
Yeah.
Because
you can just like see what works and what doesn't work and things like that. I'm excited for you to do it. I think it's going to be great.
But I have more modeling to do first.
You have more modeling to do? I feel like you can do them together.
Totally.
I used to be adamantly opposed to photography and taking photos because I thought it took away from my modeling.
Really?
I'm not saying you're saying this at all, but
Yeah.
that's how I felt.
Yeah.
But now, as I've kind of realized what I like in modeling, because in the beginning it's intoxicating.
For sure.
It is. It's a high like no other.
Yeah, definitely.
And once I got past that ego high that I would get from like being on set or something, I was like, what do I really like about this? And I realized I really liked telling stories. And it doesn't matter if I'm in front of the camera or behind it.
Yeah.
I can still do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good point. You can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're
so welcome. I just want to gas you up.
My lip has been consistently bleeding throughout this conversation. I'd like everyone to know that.
Yeah. How's it taste?
It's disgusting.
Is it?
I really don't
Can you
like
describe the taste?
it. Bad. It tastes like iron. I guess.
Interesting.
Isn't that what blood tastes like?
I mean,
I don't think I can say that on this podcast.
I don't know. I've never actually tasted iron.
Speaking of tasting things, earlier you brought up the Crunchwrap Supreme.
Yes. Yes.
And you said that that was one of your favorite treats. And we started talking about how expensive the Crunchwrap's gotten. And you said something I thought that was really striking in that you said Taco Bell knows they can charge for it
Yes.
because she knows what she's got.
Yeah, she does. She does. The Crunchwrap Supreme is like one of their premier menu items.
It was voted that in Taco Bell today.
Oh,
As a
really?
premier menu item.
I actually-
Yes. Did you catch that?
I didn't catch that this year's edition.
Did you have like a Baja Blast moment in like high school or college?
No, I never really had one. I never really did. I don't know why.
Did you, when you like were in high school and had Taco Bell,
Yeah.
what was like your order? Did you eat Taco Bell in high school?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what is your
I was a big
what is
star
your-
in high school, of course. Honestly, I was like Pepsi or root beer.
What the food though? The food aspect. I was
Well,
like,
you mentioned Baja Blast. So
oh,
yeah.
what if you're like never had the food?
Oh,
They have a phenomenal root beer at Taco Bell.
it's mug root beer though. It is.
Is it really?
It is. Mug root beer is pretty good.
Do you like Mug or Barks?
Oh, I actually don't drink much root beer anymore. I don't drink much soda at all anymore. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick mug.
Wild.
Wild.
That is a pretty big choice. I don't think a lot of people would.
Okay.
Do you drink Pepsi over Coke now? No?
No.
When's the last time you've had a Coke?
I mean, if Taco Bell would have had Coke, I would have got Coke. They just don't have Pepsi.
I understand. I'm actually happy that they only had Pepsi. I think it's kind of a cool move for them.
It is a cool move. Dare to be different.
What was your why did they fuck up all that advertising? Because their advertising, like think beyond the bun,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
where did that go?
I don't know.
So you said your order. What was your order?
Oh, in high school. Yeah. I don't remember a lot from back then. But I definitely used to get, I think the nacho tacos were new. Not the nacho, but the nacho flavored shell. I think that was new back then. This was like early 2000s,
Okay.
I think. So I definitely get some tacos. Burritos, though. I used to love the Taco Bell bean and cheese burrito, but no onions.
No onions.
No
Okay.
onions. Back then. Now I don't care. I like onions.
Good, because I just fed you a burrito with onions in
You
it.
did. You did.
And you ate it.
It was good.
You didn't have a choice.
It was good. Not as good as Taco Bell, but it was good.
Nothing can be that good. Do you remember the chili cheese burrito?
Oh, I do. Wow. That's a throwback.
It is. There's you can go to like chili cheese burrito tacobell.com or something.
Oh, someone made a website.
Yeah. It's a big money grab for them.
Interesting.
But you can go to that website and it'll tell you the Taco Bells that'll make that for you in the United States.
You're kidding.
I would never joke about this.
Wow.
But
Wait,
it's
can we check that out?
yeah. I think we can, but I don't think there's any close to us, to be honest.
Then you got my hopes up.
I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. Here in the Corn Corner, we like to build people up and then really break them down.
Right back down.
Speaking of being broken down,
Can I have one of these?
yeah, please.
The first ever snack eaten on
Yeah.
the Corner Corner.
It's true.
Was Nicole.
It was actually, I hate to say this. Oops. I hate to say this. This is why I don't allow cups on this podcast
the
because of
noises.
this. You know, the noise.
Why don't we have
Coasters?
Coasters.
Yeah, that's a good point.
God.
I feel a little bit ridiculous having a coaster on this table because this table was like $4. So I feel a little bit
You
absurd.
just outed yourself. No one knew that until you said that.
I know.
God.
I fucking hate this table, to be honest.
Tell us how you really feel.
I hate it. It's my least favorite piece of furniture in this place.
These are really fucking good.
Yeah, they're really good. So there was actually another time in which the rules were broken and we had hash browns on the podcast because I was going to pass out if I didn't have food and I wanted to get the pod done.
That's commitment.
So I was like, let's get it.
It is commitment. I applaud that.
Yeah, thank you. But this is the first kind of casual, I would call this a casual snack, kind of only for fun. And so this is kind of actually making news, and a certain co-host is going to be pretty upset
There's
about
gonna be
this.
some waves.
There's going to be a couple waves about this.
Yeah.
Well, Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah.
This was fascinating. You are a multifaceted, layered human being that I'm so happy I've gotten to know over the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And I look forward to getting to know you more
Yeah, me too.
and learning more things about you.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
It's great. You're amazing. You're one of my best friends, and I appreciate you.
Maybe you'll be the new co-host of the Corn Corner.
Maybe.
Don't tell him. Nobody. All right. We have to do the ending of the Corn Corner now.
What's the ending again?
It goes, no matter if you're shucked, then you say your part.
What's my part?
No matter if you're shucked or creamed.
Or creamed?
Wait. No matter if you're shucked or you're creamed, it doesn't matter what kind of corn you are. Can you say?
As long as you're
Yes. And then we both say at the same time, kind corn. Kind corn. All right. And then we get up.
Do I have to get up too?
Yeah.
That was so fun.